I'd like to talk now about the order in which group policies are applied. First of all, we have this order. Local are applied first, and then site policies are applied, and then policies against the domain are applied, and finally policies against the OU are applied. I'll talk about why this is significant in a moment when we get down to here. As far as the order, though, of OUs, if you have nested OUs, the parent OU is applied first, and then policies in the child OU are applied second. In the case of several objects that are applied to the same thing, let's say that I have 3 group policy objects all applied to the domain. Well, the first one, these are applied bottom up, so the first one's applied last. So the GPOC in this case is applied, and then GPOB is applied after, and then GPOA is applied. So I have to make sure these are in the order I want them. So why do we care? Why do we care what order they're applied in? Because policies are cumulative. So if I have a local policy and I set a site policy, and the site policy has different things in it, different restrictions or different permissions in it than the local policy, that will add to it. So both the site and the local policy will be enforced. And then when I apply a policy to the domain, that will add even more permissions or restrictions. And then to the OU, we'll add even more permissions and restrictions. And then the parent OU, and then the child OU, and so on. What happens when conflicts exist? Well, when conflicts exist, the new policy overwrites the old one. So if you put a local policy on your machine, and I come along as a domain administrator and I put a site policy on, and my site policy disagrees with your local policy, let's say that your local policy says that you can always have the computer, my computer, on your home, on your desktop. But my site policy says you cannot. Well, my site policy is going to override your local one. And then the domain, if there's a conflict between the domain and either of these others, then it will override, and so on. So you can see that a child OU, for example, the policies will take precedence over the parent OU. In other words, the more restrictive, the more down to, the more specific, I should say, the unit that we're applying it to, the more precedence it has. So these higher ones have greater precedence than the lower ones. So that's why that's important.